doing today? I appreciate everybody coming out. I know a lot of folks were glued to the TV late last night and early this morning. Like myself, I'm really happy that you guys came out today. You know, whatever's going on in the world, me and my team are still responsible for keeping Facebook secure and keeping your information secure and private, so that's what we're going to keep on talking about today. My name's Stamos. I'm the Chief Security Officer at Facebook, and I've been really enjoying Web Summit so far. I've met incredible people from small companies, big companies, students, folks from NGOs, from government. And one of the great things about this conference is that we're not just talking about technology, but we're talking about the ways technology is going to affect our lives and culture in the long run. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing about security and safety at Facebook, and hopefully this can be useful for those of you who are building companies yourself. As you probably know, our business at Facebook is making the world more open and connected. And we believe that this is an important mission because when people are connected, wonderful, incredible things happen. And opportunity is given to people that have never existed before. For example, last year, during the tragic earthquakes in Nepal, 770,000 people in the Facebook community gave over $15 million with just this little button on Facebook. And about a month ago, in the US state of Florida, Caitlin Brown saw an alert for a missing child and was able to save a 4-year-old from being abducted. Facebook has quickly become one of the most important communication mechanisms in the world. About 1.13 billion people use Facebook every day. About 85% of those people live outside the United States and Canada, almost 250 million of them here in Europe, which is incredible and fantastic, but honestly, not good enough. About 6.6 billion people live on this planet within range of at least a 2G wireless signal. But fewer than half of them actually have internet access. They are missing out on the benefits that all of us have gotten from connectivity to the rest of the world. Yesterday, our CTO, Mike Schrepp, talked a lot about the technologies that we are working on to help bridge this gap. One of those areas is Free Basics, which is a free service by which people can get online to get access to health information, jobs, education. And Facebook is dedicated to continuing to innovate in this space so that we can bring the rest of the world online and give them the benefits that all of us enjoy every day. Now, like I said, our mission is to make the world more open connected, but there's a part of that that is really important that we don't always explicitly say. If we're going to connect the world, it is also our responsibility to connect the world safely. We have a responsibility, all of us as technology builders, to understand the impact we have on people. And in situations where that impact is negative, look at it with open eyes, be honest with ourselves about what is happening, and to do everything we can to mitigate it. And that's, in Facebook, what we call our area of safety. So safety is a different word than security. Traditionally, I come from the technical security community. Traditionally, security and technology is about correctness. It's the idea that software needs to operate appropriately in the presence of an adversary, that you should not have flaws that somebody can exploit to do something bad with their software. And that's great. I think it's great, obviously, that we think about that, and it's very important for us to apply modern techniques to make sure we build secure software. But safety is bigger than that. It turns out we can build perfectly secure software that acts exactly like we expect it to, and yet people can still get hurt. And that's why at Facebook we try to build a safety-oriented engineering culture, a culture where we design safety in the beginning days of the product, that we watch how the product is used in the real world, and we try to iterate quickly to deal with issues that come up. The best metaphor for this is the automotive industry. So a family car is not supposed to be driven into a wall at 100 kilometers per hour, right? Us in the tech industry would call that user error, if that happens. In the automotive industry, they don't get to disclaim that. They don't get to say, you weren't supposed to do that. That is something that they have to take into account when they design a car. It is something that is tested in a lab, and then when accidents happen, they go out in the field and they understand, this is how we failed, this is how we can do better with our new products. That is what we're trying to do with software at Facebook. A great example of how, as an industry, we need to think more about this is the username and password paradigm, which is how the vast majority of the world authenticates to the vast majority of services every day. Username and passwords are an idea that come out of 1970s mainframe architectures. They were not built for 2016 when we're all walking around with supercomputers in our pocket with constant connectivity. And we know that this is an idea whose time has come and passed, because if you look at the dumps, the password dumps that get traded on the black market after sites get broken into, you'll find the same passwords over and over again. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6s, password 1, password exclamation mark, let me in, a number of words that I can't say on stage. These are the things that you see every single time. And as a result, the reuse of passwords is actually the #1 source of harm on the internet. It's not incredibly sophisticated technical attacks. It's not malware. It is the reuse of passwords and the fact that passwords are traded on the black market with impunity. So one of the things we do at Facebook is we try to give people options to authenticate in different ways. We have an option for second factor authentication. We call it login approvals. And you can get that second factor via an SMS or via a code that displays through a push notification. We are also trying to address the account lifecycle. So authentication is what a lot of people focus on. But my suggestion to those of you building companies is you've got to think about a lot more than just the initial authentication of your users. You have to think of the entire life cycle of your relationship with your customer. How they create the account, how they authenticate, obviously, but then what are the things that you do when that person's having a really bad day and they have to get back into the account? How do you handle them losing their computer and their phone at the same time and forgetting their password because they haven't used it forever? How do we do that? How does most of your companies do it? How do you reset passwords? Email links, right? You have a little button that says, please email me a new password, or email a link that can reset the password. But what that means in the practical impact is that people get their email accounts stolen, taken over, and then the attackers can go and take over their entire online persona within about 10, 15 minutes. And that is an extremely difficult thing for individuals to come back from. So one of the ways we're trying to fight that is using the social graph to provide an alternative way for people to get back into their accounts. Trusted contacts allow you to go in and to pick friends of yours who you really trust. And if you need to reset your password, they will get contact with a code. You talk with them out of band, or maybe they're in the house because they're a family member. You get those codes, and now you get back in, which is obviously a much more secure way than mailing a link to email, and it will frustrate attackers who have access to your email or your phone number. Even though we provide these options, it is our responsibility to still think about and protect the people who decide not to use them, right? We cannot say, oh, you didn't use login approvals, you didn't use trusted contacts, you're not our problem. That is not morally or ethically okay. And so we need to continue to innovate, even for people that are using the most basic types of authentication. One way we do this is it turns out when you log into Facebook with username and password, that's only one small part of us deciding you actually are who you are. So we take about 80 data points from your browsing session, and we feed it into a machine learning model. And that machine learning model is trained on the good logins and the bad logins that we have seen over the past couple of days. And it always reflects what is the current state in the art in taking over accounts and what kinds of activity is going on. And that machine learning model looks at all those data points and decides, is this really the person I think it is, or is this an attacker? And if it looks like it's an attacker, it traps the person, it locks the account down to the devices they've already used before, and it puts them through some kind of challenge to prove that they're likely the actual person. We also go out and try to pay attention to what's going on in the black market. So we work with partners to obtain the password dumps that have been taken from other companies and traded on the black market. We take those passwords dumps and then we test them against all of the passwords inside of Facebook, which is extremely computationally heavy because we keep your passwords in a hashed format, but it's worth it because this year we have tested over 1 billion passwords against the Facebook user base, and we have notified tens of millions of people that their Facebook password is currently being traded on the black market, which is useful to secure Facebook, but it's also useful if they use that password on multiple sites. I'm going to do a quick survey. Who here has either an iPhone, a Google official device like a Nexus or a Pixel, an HTC or a Samsung? Raise your hand. Let's see. Okay, pretty much everybody. How many people in here have an iPhone 7 currently on them? Right. Okay, so the iPhone 7 came out 3 months ago and costs about 1/2 of the per capita GDP of India. This is not a normal crowd, right? This is not a representative crowd of the people that use Facebook, and it is certainly not a representative crowd of the new people who are coming online these days. These are the kind of devices that people are actually using in growing countries. I was in Nigeria last week speaking at a security conference and speaking to students, and we took a look at what were popular devices there. And one of the most popular smartphones in Nigeria costs about 50 euros, and it looks like a 2014 top-of-the-line phone. It actually, from a physical perspective, is very attractive and has very good specs. But it ships with 2 generations ago of Android code. So on day 1, when somebody buys that phone, they have serious vulnerabilities for which exploit code is already floating around the internet. And that phone will probably never be patched, and they'll never be able to keep themselves safe. Again, this is normally in the security industry, we would call the user's problem. We would disclaim if you are on an operating system that is not trustworthy and has malware, it's not our problem. And we can't do that at Facebook, and the rest of you need to be thinking about this as well. So we try to build self-defending apps, applications that are secure even in a situation when there's malware on the device. One of the first things we've done is we ship our own crypto code in every Facebook app. And so that crypto code does not rely upon the operating system. It allows us to use the latest technologies available. And then also, if there's a backdoor on that phone, either because it's been inserted by the government, it's been inserted by the teleco, or it's been inserted by malware, that backdoor will have a very difficult time man-in-the-middling and seeing your Facebook information. This code is free, and you're welcome to go grab it. Another thing that we all need to take into account is we need to design software for all of those people who don't have the political freedoms that people have in places like Portugal. We need to build tools that allow them to be safe and to feel like they can express themselves okay online. One of the ways we do that is we run a Tor hidden service. So if you're running Tor and you go to Facebook core www.onion, which seems like a weird word, but if you know anything about how Tor names work, that's actually pretty amazing that it looks like that. You can go access this over the Tor network. It never leaves the Tor network, and this allows us to give people as secure and as performant an experience possible while they use Tor to protect their privacy. Another privacy-enhancing thing that we're working on is end-to-end encryption. So both of our major messaging products, both of which have over 1 billion users apiece, WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, both support end-to-end encryption. We have used transport encryption on the wire for quite a while, but now users can use these products and make sure that their information, their content, goes from device to device without being able to be decrypted even by Facebook. So I've talked a little bit about our products. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you guys can do and what we do to protect infrastructure. So one tool we've built is a system called OS Query, which is an agent that runs on every single production and most of the corporate systems at Facebook. And what OS Query allows you to do is to do SQL-like queries to ask questions of a humongous fleet of system very quickly. And so our team uses that to hunt for bad guys, to ask questions. This is an example of somebody hunting for a bad OS X service, to hunt for bad guys and then to do very, very quick instant response afterwards. Now, we built this for ourselves, and we use it ourselves, but we also believe that everybody should have the ability to protect themselves as well as we do. And so we open source this. If you go to GitHub and you search for OS Query, you will find a project that there are over 30 companies and hundreds of individuals participating in, and with a huge community that is well beyond the Facebook family. Another service that we provide to try to make the entire internet safer is called Threat Exchange. So Threat Exchange is a machine-to-machine threat sharing platform that has over 450 companies participating. We firmly believe that threat-based defense is the way of the future, and that you can't keep your system safe unless you understand what your adversaries are doing. And we believe that these threat platforms should be both free and privacy-preserving. And there's really no way we could do that without building our own. So this is a service we provide for free. If you go to threatexchange.fb.com, you're welcome to apply, and we'll get you on board and get you into our service, which shares information from attackers as low as spammers, all the way up to the most advanced persistent threats. While you could do a lot technologically, user education is still important. And something, if you're looking to build your own safety page that you might want to pay attention to, is we just relaunched our safety center, facebook.com/safety. We've launched it in 50 languages with 75 international partners. And the goal here is to educate people not just on how to use Facebook, but how to use all the services in their life securely. So there's a lot of stuff for us to do together, some things that I'm looking forward to over the next couple of years that I hope we can all work on together. So engineers, product people, my suggestion is we need to think about safety from day one. We're no longer of the age when you can just build a product and see how it's used in the wild and then decide we're going to make this a safe experience. You need to foresee these events. You need to look at companies like ours who have learned these lessons in actually the difficult way and see what we're doing and try to build that in early on. And it's really important to see how people are using it in the wild. So don't just talk to your friends and your family and the kind of people around you who use your product. Make sure you understand in different countries, different cultures, different languages, what is their experience and what is happening to them from a safety and security perspective. We also need technologists around the world, but especially here in the EU and back in the US, to interact with governments in a more effective fashion. There are a lot of governments that are struggling with some real legitimate issues about safety and security and free speech. And we need to help make the case on both sides of the Atlantic that we need to build safe, secure, trustworthy software, and that is what of supreme importance, not just for economic competitiveness, but for the safety of these countries' citizens. And those governments really need to set a good example. Billions of people live in countries that are struggling with the free speech and safety divide, and that are honestly making decisions that are hurting people, are hurting their citizens. And so we need the EU and US government to set a good example and demonstrate that the way to deal with the internet and to deal with these challenges is not about surveillance and control and censorship, but is about openness and a focus on keeping people safe in the real world. So thank you very much. I had a great time meeting people here today. I'm looking forward to meeting a bunch of you and talking about how we can work on this stuff together in the future. Have a great day today. Thank you.